Hello survivors and welcome to another Walking Dead Road to Survival video, and in this video we are going to be taking a first look at Gold Mythic Lilly Caul, who I have been told is going to be made available in an upcoming Battle Pass as well as an upcoming Gold Rush. I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work. This is the first time Scope has done this kind of thing, so they will announce how it's going to work, but she's going to be available in both, I've been told, to a certain extent, so stay tuned for that. When it comes to the visuals, I think Lilly looks absolutely awesome, just in terms of the pose, holding the gun in her hand rather than having it on her back. It's just so different than what we actually see in other characters. Just looks like really cool. Very red kind of get up on the weapons, on her jacket. She is an alert character. She's holding that pistol, so she's not got an attached weapon. But if we look on the left-hand side, we can see she has got a couple of weapons in her hands. So some, maybe SMG or pistol could come along that is like Lilly's weapon, which could be kind of cool. Now, I did say that some of these arts in the teaser that I did earlier on in the week are gruesome, and this one is no different, as you can see. Very, very epic scene from the Walking Dead storyline is taking place on your screens right now. If we look at the stats, though, at level 1440, limit break 3, she has got 38,621 attack, 24,577 defense, and 24,577 HP. She is an alert character, of course, holding that pistol as her main weapon. She's going to be in the control role, Gold Mythic character, and she's going to be joining the Woodbury Allegiance. Now, first up, we'll look at the Adrenaline Rush, and this was the Adrenaline Rush that I did feature in the teaser video as well. It's called Perfect Shot. It's a 66 AP cost rush, deals 750% damage to an enemy, plus 500% damage if that enemy has bonus HP, and plus 250% damage if they have a positive effect. This fighter gets 100% attack down resistance for 2 turns. So the first half is potentially going to be a 1,500% deal damage Adrenaline Rush. It does obviously require the character to have at least 1 bonus HP, but you could team her up with characters that actually give bonus HP to the enemy. For instance, Glenn from last year's anniversary event, I think he just gives 1 bonus HP to enemies to get this kind of bonus, so the team up there could be actually really good. They're also both got the same specialist skills, so they'll be both rushing quite quickly. The 250% is just if they have a positive effect, and this is anything: Halo, heal over time, defense bonus, any sort of buff, and any sort of resistance buff. So generally speaking, a defense team's going to have a positive effect there. So 1,000% should almost be guaranteed, but it's whether they have bonus HP or not, whether it'll do a little bit more damage. Obviously, the less bonus HP they have, the better, just so that you obviously doesn't eat into that damage that she's going to be doing. So you might want to soften a character up before you Adrenaline Rush with Lilly. Obviously, it's up to you how you want to do this. The attack down, resistance is actually pretty good. She does get attack boost in the rest of her kit, which you do not want to lose out on. Damage buffs are good. Let's just say that. Damage buffs are good. And they're actually kind of required for this kind of Adrenaline Rush, because it deals damage. The only boost you're going to get is on pure damage and attack. So no crit potential. You're just going all out damage on this character, and buffs are vital. So attack down resistance is actually not too bad at all. And because of her specialist skill, she should be Adrenaline Rushing quite early on in the fight. Okay, so here we are on an attack team, and as you can see, we have got some positive effects on the defense team. We also have some bonus HP, so it doesn't matter who I select, we'll do the 1,500% hit. It is also worth noting, obviously, the more 1535s I have around Lilly, the better, because her attack stat is the main thing. So again, you can boost it as much as possible. We'll do the Adrenaline Rush. I wouldn't advise attacking someone with maxed out bonus HP, but we did in this case. The character was not very high HP. If we went for someone in the top right hand corner like Noor, it would be much harder to take her down. You saw we did 90,000 damage. There's not going to be too much variance on that unless we increase her attack. So adjacent teammates with 1535 or attack buffs is the way to go. And she, like I said, she will have a potential to get an attack buff, which we will check out later, but she is going to be doing reasonable damage. No weapon proc potential on the defense team because it is a deal damage. You can see that as a bonus. At the negative of, you cannot crit. So that's the kind of the trade-off that you're going to make here. So if we go into the Adrenaline Rush upgrades, you can see at grade 3 it gets an upgrade where 500% damage if that enemy has bonus HP, so that's going to be quite low grade to get that. At grade 5 it gets an upgrade where it gets plus 250% damage if that enemy has a positive status effect. And at Limit Break 2 it gets plus 250% damage, I assume, to the initial damage, which would go from 500% up to 750%. This obviously would make it the potential of 1,500% overall once the all the effects and potential like bonus HP are on the enemy. This is, like I say, not too bad. You want to get her buffed up. You want to get all the 1535s around her, improved 1535s, the weapon from the bit shot, which gives like 20% attack to adjacent teammates. That could go in Lilly's hands as well. She does not need crit, but her teammates might. This is the issue. You might have to set her up in a team that potentially doesn't need crit. And someone like that Glenn, who also doesn't need crit, I think the team up between those two characters could be actually very, very good indeed. So, very heavy hitting rush, and should actually occur quite often, just purely due to the fact that she is a specialist skill that gains AP, and she's going to be gaining AP very regularly during the fight. So it should be, at worst, every other turn she's hitting her Adrenaline Rush, as long as she has max HP, which is, I think, how it works with the specialist skill. We will check that out later on in the video, but the Adrenaline Rush should be going off quite a lot, and it is quite a hefty hit. So, quite a nice Adrenaline Rush. It was nice to show this one in the teaser, and a lot of people seem to enjoy this one, and it's nice to show you it in kind of full effect. Quite easy to upgrade as well, quite basic. Deal damage does make a character a little bit more simple in terms of building, just because it's just pure attack when it comes to a damage dealer. So yeah, like I say, nice Adrenaline Rush. It's a good start for Lilly. So let's see if that good start on the Adrenaline Rush continues into the signature move. It is called Break In. It has got an initial cooldown of turn 1, cooldown of 2 turns, number of uses unlimited. This fighter gets 100% attack, which increases by 25% each turn and heals by 35% of their max HP, both for the rest of combat. All teammates get elusive for 2 turns, attack an enemy for 700% damage. So there's a lot going on in this signature move, like 3 to 4 things pretty much. The first part, where it gives 100% attack, is amazing, but it lasts for the rest of combat and also scales up by 25% each turn. This generally means by turn 2, when you do your Adrenaline Rush, you should have a 125% attack buff, and also this 100% buff comes in before the damage that comes in later on in the signature move, so it should be a massive hit on the signature move. There also will be healing by 35% of the max HP. This is actually quite important when it comes to the specialist skill, because the specialist needs to be at max HP for that to occur. I do think the timing is not great when it comes to heals versus the specialist skill, because I think they would have to be at max HP at the start of their turn. Otherwise, the heal won't give them the boost at the start of their turn to get the specialist skill actually to proc. But as long as they don't get targeted, or you've got someone else to kind of look after them, maybe like a bodyguard or something like that, it shouldn't be too much of a problem. The 35% heal is just going to be nice, like I say, for the rest of combat. And the second time you do this around on the signature move, it will go up to 70%, so she'll be healing for a lot more. All teammates getting elusive for 2 turns means that if you do Lilly's signature move first, no AP is going to be gained by the defense team from her own signature move, because the elusive comes in first. But also, any other signature move that your team does will block any AP gain. And that's really nice, because AP gain on, taking damage on defense teams, as much as people don't use AP on defense too much, they still gain AP enough that potentially they can rush a little bit quicker, and it can be a bit frustrating with very defensive fighters if you're just trying to take them out and they're gaining AP as you're doing damage, and it's like you could potentially be giving them their Adrenaline Rush. Then it's a big 700% hit. The only downside of the signature move damage is now the damage can crit, but the Adrenaline Rush cannot. So you're going to have to make your decision. Do you want to go full in on attack and, see if you can crit when you can, or do you want to try and go in on crit and then obviously get some multipliers in the combat mods with the sets and stuff like that? It's up to you, of course. You could try and, go for half and half, go for attack set, but also go for crit multiplier in the bottom left-hand corner and rely on 1535s for crit. So it's up to you there. But let's check out this signature move though and see how it works. So here we are off of turn 1, and as you can see, Lilly has got half her AP because of her specialist skill. So when I do this signature move against the bottom line character, she will get her Adrenaline Rush naturally for turn 2. So I'll do the signature move. If it crit, it would have been spectacular, but it's only going to do a normal hit. I'm going to command her now. Now, you remember the damage that we did last time? I think we did 89,000, but now we've got a 100% attack buff. We'll attack the character up the top, and we're going to do 131,000. So obviously it increases the damage output. The character up the top right hand corner probably has a little bit more defense as well, so there'll be a better reduction there, but it just basically increases the damage output. Now if I just defend on my characters, you can see obviously there's other things going on in Lilly's kit because she's getting other things occur when it comes to buffs. But when we just defend on my characters, any damage I've taken, I have taken some damage, I heal back up, and we'll see if the damage has upgraded from 100 to 125%. That's what we want to, there we go. And normally you'd Adrenaline Rush naturally turn 2, which would be right now. And then obviously you're going to hit harder. We defend again. Let's see if it can occur. It should go up to 150% damage. Let me see. 150%. There we go. And it's just going to make her get more powerful as the fight goes on. I think this is really, really nice indeed. Now, if we jump straight into the upgrades on this signature move, you can see at grade 2, it gets an upgrade where this fighter gets plus 50% attack, which increases by 25% each turn for the rest of combat. So that nice little buff there is going to come in at grade 2. At grade 4, it gets -1 to starting cooldown, where it goes from 2 turn starting cooldown down to 1 turn starting cooldown. It feels like Scopely are watching my videos and me joking about starting cooldown always being LB3, but they're bringing it in at a lower grade here, which is great. At LB1, we get plus 50% attack, and I think that's on the buff because initially it comes in at plus 50%. So now it's going to be 100% initial bonus, and this is going to be off of LB1. Then at LB3, it gets plus 300% damage, and this goes from 400% damage hit up to a 700% damage hit. I really like this signature move. The attack buff, just even though it's just for herself, is really good. And I think the elusive is probably going to be a little bit go under the radar, but it's so useful to have elusive on the character that's doing this damage, i.e. Lilly, but also giving it to her entire team is really, really, really good. So like I said, I really like this signature move, and it's going to be hard to choose between using the Adrenaline Rush and the signature move when it comes up when they're both available. I guess we'll have to test it out when we run into that issue. Now, Lilly, of course, has some mythic abilities. These are her passive skills. She is a control role character, so she is going to get precision, where enemy resistances are 40% lower against this fighter. And she's also going to get one called Anti-Reflect. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, this fighter gets 100% counter damage reduction for 2 turns. This means at the start of the fight, should always happen where you'll get counter reduction for 2 turns. This does mean she could be slotted into teams where she wouldn't necessarily get the counter damage otherwise. So for instance, with Philip Blake as the leader, she wouldn't get it, but because of her mythic ability, she would. So she could fit into a team like that with like Lone Wolves, or she could just basically be getting it as a solo character and try and utilize camouflage for the teammates. That's the way of doing it when it comes to like nuking, let's say, payback characters. The next one is called Lights Off. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, 100% chance a random enemy gets normalized for 1 turn. So this means at the start of the fight, when she procs her specialist skill, there will be a random normalize, which is really, really good. It obviously can get resisted, but because she is a control role character, she will reduce that resistance chance by 40%, and that's actually pretty good. I think the highest resistance potential is like 70, maybe 80%. I think the new Kenny had slightly higher, maybe it was 80% there, but he would obviously have the reduced normalized potential because of Lilly. And this is every time it procs, so potentially every single turn she could be proccing normalized, which is actually very, very good, especially if it comes to that character that's the last character alive. She could proc her normalized against a payback, and they obviously be able to nuke her instantly. Someone like Princess, she'd obviously be able to Adrenaline Rush because the Adrenaline Rush deals damage, and that would not allow Princess to cleanse the normalized before the damage comes in. Now, the last passive is called Premeditation. Before this fighter performs their Adrenaline Rush, 100% chance this fighter gets Camouflage for the rest of combat and a Guardian Shield. I think, again, this is just more for survivability, but also to stop her from just taking random damage unless it's targeted. And even if it is targeted, it will be blocked by the Guardian Shield on the first hit. This is to protect her specialist skill a little bit, because she has to be at max HP for the specialist skill to work. So this isn't too bad. I wouldn't necessarily say this is amazing, but it is, you know, obviously decent, just to take a little bit less damage. So for instance, if someone had a signature move like Kyle, who hits 2 enemies, and she was not the targeted enemy on that signature move, but was the secondary hit, she'd block that damage and she wouldn't take any damage, and it would protect her specialist skill from actually proccing the next turn because she'd be at full HP still. So it's pretty much as simple as that, and that's pretty good, especially as a couple of her passives are strong and they require her specialist skill to actually occur. So as we start the fight, you can see my specialist skill did proc, so this made the normalized potential go onto an enemy. We only have one specialist here. You can only ever normalize a specialist, so the leader will never get normalized. It will never be wasted. It will always stop a specialist, but obviously maybe some specialists are more problematic than others to you. And if we target this character and do our signature move, you can see that we are going to, well, actually, I'll do a basic attack first because we'll take some damage. And now my specialist skill will not proc, as you can see. And now we haven't normalized the enemy. And this is problematic, generally speaking, but because I've got the counter damage reduction, I can do the signature move, and it can do damage to the enemy. It's pretty much as simple as that there. And then what I can do this time around with the Adrenaline Rush, because we haven't got the counter damage reduction, I can try and take out another enemy, and my Guardian Shield now should protect me from any incoming damage, and that means my heal over time should heal me up to max HP. And then my specialist skill did proc, and now he's normalized again. So actually, when I said how the healing worked, the heal actually comes in before the specialist skill procs, which is obviously great. So any counter damage reduction that I'd get at this point would obviously be very nice, because it'll be reduced down to 0 and shouldn't be much of a problem. You know, if I do the Adrenaline Rush, you can see we aren't going to have any counter damage reduction. Normalize, no problem. So that's actually really good confirmation that I think they must have changed it up, because I know I tested it out before where the heal was not coming in before that specialist skill proc, and now it is, and that's big. That is honestly big to how it works, especially in Lily's kit, because she has to have those specialist skill procs to make a lot of her passives work, and the only way she's getting heals is off of that signature move. But she can do that signature move turn 1, get that heal rolling, and she should always, unless she's taking a lot of damage, she should always be up there. And then obviously it can scale up to 70%, and she's much more likely to have it happen. Obviously, very nice indeed. When we look at the upgrades though, at grade 1, you can see she gets the first half of anti-reflect. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, this fighter gets 50% counter reduction damage for 2 turns. At grade 2, she gets the first half of precision. Any resistances are 20% lower against this fighter. At grade 3, she gets the second half of anti-reflect. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, this fighter gets 50% counter damage reduction for 2 turns, making 100% counter damage reduction total. Moving on to grades 4 and 5, you can see at grade 4, we get the first half of lights off. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, 50% chance a random enemy gets normalized for 1 turn. And at grade 5, she gets the first half of premeditation. Before this fighter performs their Adrenaline Rush, 50% chance this fighter gets camouflage for the rest of combat and a Guardian Shield. So everything on her passives is pretty much protecting her specialist skill from actually proccing, and her specialist proccing is enabling the protection. Moving on to the limit breaks, you can see at LB1 she gets the second half of precision. Enemy resistances are 20% lower against this fighter. And at limit break 2, she gets the second half of lights off. When this fighter performs their specialist skill, 50% chance a random enemy gets normalized for 1 turn, making it 100% chance total. And then at limit break 3, she gets the second half of premeditation, making it 100% chance this fighter gets camouflage for the rest of combat and a Guardian Shield when this fighter performs their Adrenaline Rush. So I really like this character's kit because parts of her kit protect her specialist skill. Her specialist skill makes some of those things actually occur, and then her Adrenaline Rush is just going to have added effect of a Guardian Shield occur and also camouflage for the rest of the combat, which again in turn protect her specialist skill from occurring to allow her to Adrenaline Rush more often. It's really kind of nice. It's going to have a really snowball effect in fights, especially with that signature move, just that attack rate going up and up and up and up. You're going to see Lily just more often be able to do higher damage as the fight continues, which is really good for more of a free-to-play character. But early on, if built correctly, she's still going to be very heavy damage. It just means that for a free-to-play, this is a character that's going to scale really nicely against pretty much any defense. So it might take you some turns to beat teams, but at least she's going to get stronger and stronger and stronger in the fight. You obviously have to keep her alive, but the damage output potential should be really, really nice. Kind of a fun and exciting character here, as especially nice because it's a fun and exciting damage dealer, which is always more enjoyable as a player to use. So yeah, very nice passives. I think their normalized stands out quite nicely for me. It's just such a nice little bonus, especially considering this is, I think, one of the first free-to-play normalized characters other than, I think, Gold Mythic Lilly, the other Lily, just from the Awakened version. But this is going to have control roll, so it's got more chance to hit when it actually occurs. So we've been seeing reference to her specialist skill a lot, and it's very basic the way it works. It's called Amped, and it says, at the start of this fighter's turn, if they're at 100% HP, they get 50% of their max AP. This is pretty basic. Off of turn 1, this should always occur, which should always proc a couple of her passives, which is nice. From then on, it's based on whether she gets healed up enough. Her signature move will help her a little bit, but you potentially could have some characters deal a bit more damage. You did see in some of the previous clips, if she's getting damage over time, like bleed and stuff like that, that's where just that extra added damage could come in to make it more problematic. So you definitely want to keep her up and keep her HP nice and high. At the beginning of the turn, as long as she's got 100% HP, as you saw, even with the heal, she's going to proc her specialist skill, and then if she procs her specialist skill, she'll potentially normalize somebody, and she'll get counter damage reduction on her kit. So obviously that's really, really nice. And then the specialist skill will enable her to do her Adrenaline Rush, which will in turn give her a Guardian Shield to more likely have her specialist skill occur on the next turn. It's kind of interesting. Like I said, I think her overall kit really nicely works together. Now, she does not have an attached weapon, but there are a couple of weapons out there that could be useful for her. If you did want to go for a more of a crit-based weapon, I think there was a Battle Pass weapon about a year and a half ago. It was Kenny's pistol. That should work well in her hands. There's also the Battle Pass. There is also the weapon, like I said, from the Bit Shop, which gives 20% attack to the character and adjacent teammates. She wouldn't get crit there, though. If you did want to build crit for her signature move, it's up to you whether you want to do that or not. There's probably an improved 1535 out there as well that could work quite well in her hands. I haven't seen that, but there could have been one of those $100 or $200 weapons. If you've got one of those, definitely would work very well in Lilly Caul's hands. Just basically, you want to go for as much damage output as possible, but potentially try and get that last slot to give some crit as well. The third slot will generally not work with the Adrenaline Rush, so try and gear the third slot around the signature move. Doing extra attack based on an enemy's HP is generally a good way to go. There are improved versions of this, but I'm unsure if there's a good one on an alert weapon out there. Let me know if you have any ideas for the kind of weapon you'd want to put in Lilly's hands. This, honestly, is the part that would probably make the biggest difference to how usable she's going to be on your teams. So that's just a little look at Lilly Caul, who does look like quite a hefty damage dealer and just got quite a fun kit as well. I do like the visuals, quite a nice little character here. It is going to be interesting to see how this character is going to release. Like I said, I was told it's going to be part of a Battle Pass and a Gold Rush, which is the first time we've had this happen. More details on that will follow from Scopely, but hopefully I can get my hands on the LB3 version of this character, because like I said, I think they could be a lot of fun to use. Let me know your thoughts on this character in the comments down below. I want to thank you very much for tuning in, and as always, keep on surviving, guys. Keep on surviving.